Chapter 320. Evildoer. Yiqing Luo harumphed in annoyance as she patted the hand on her waist. Dmo Xian's laughter grew louder as his chest pressed against her back. Yiqing Luo could feel the man's chest vibrating from his laughter. Still laughing. Yiqing Luo bit her lips as her elbow knocked backwards. She had just moved when Dmo Xian stretched out his hand and grabbed her slender wrist. Yiqing Luo struggled but was unable to shake him off, so she could only let him grab her. "Why are you here?" Recently Dmo Xian had been running to the academy a little too frequently. Could it be that the imperial palace didn't need him to handle the affairs? "If I don't come, Lil Luo will run away with someone else." Dmo Xian tightened his arms as his tone was obviously filled with displeasure. "Looks like there are too many people who admire Lil Luo. Who?" Dmo Xian lowered his head as his lips pressed onto Yiqing Luo's fair neck. "That Mr. Zhu." His words had just ended when his lips opened and bit onto Yiqing Luo's neck. Hiss. Yiqing Luo cried out in pain. "I don't even know him, why did you bite me for?" "You don't know him, but he will send you medicine and settle the matter with the elder quarters." Dmo Xian loosened his mouth as his warm breath sprayed onto the place where she was bitten. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as she endured the shivering feeling and turned her head over angrily as she stared at Dmo Xian. "How would I know?" She stretched out her hand as she pinched Dmo Xian's cheek and pinched it fiercely. "You have so little confidence in yourself that you don't trust me." Dmo Xian didn't say a word as his large palm covered her head and pressed her into his arms as his arms wrapped around her tightly. Yiqing Luo's entire face was plastered onto his chest. The more she struggled, the tighter the man hugged. Yiqing Luo simply stopped her actions as she buried her head in his arms, listening to his heartbeat. After some time, the man's deep voice floated down from above her head. "It's not that I don't trust you, just angry." "Why isn't the person who did all these for you, me?" Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly softened. A sweet feeling started to spread in her heart. Her lips, which were buried in Dmo Xian's arms, curled into an elegant arc. She stretched out her hand and wrapped it around Dmo Xian's waist. "You're the one accompanying me now. That's enough." Yiqing Luo rubbed her face against his chest in satisfaction. The sandalwood scent on his body made her feel at ease. Dmo Xian cupped her face and gently kissed her forehead before pulling her into his embrace once again. "Go to sleep. Do your best for tomorrow's actual combat training." Just as Yiqing Luo was about to fall asleep, she could vaguely feel the man's palm gently caressing her face. The man's faint sigh resounded in her ears. "I still can't accept it." When he woke up again, it was already the second day of the freshman training. She left Chi at Long Yunzhan's side. Without a professional alarm clock like Chi, she actually slept for such a long time. Just then, Lu Xiaoyu came to wake her up. After Yiqing Luo washed up quickly, the two of them walked together to the freshman training grounds. By the time the training for the freshmen was completed, the instructors called for them to disperse and Yiqing Luo then rushed towards the devil class without stopping. Hyperfound class students entered the training forest early in the morning after the elder opened the entrance. The students from the devil class should have already sneaked in. When Yiqing Luo rushed to the devil class, Baiming Lulu was waiting for her in the classroom. Chapter 321. In the past, actual combat training in devil class, it had always been based on individual ability. In other words, all the students who entered the training forest would become their own opponents. Qiao Jin would give each student a wooden token, similar to the academy's wooden token, which could record the changes of the students' points. On the wooden token, there would be 30 points as the basic points. Killing the magical beasts in the training forest would be able to gain 1 point. The final outcome was to choose the top 3 outstanding students based on the number of points accumulated. And this actual combat training, the cruelest point was they could snatch the opponent's wooden token. Once the snatch was successful, all the opponent's points would be accumulated into the hands of the person who snatched it successfully. But the person whose wooden token was snatched could snatch the other person's wooden token within 1 hour. If it exceeded 1 hour, they would be forcibly chased out of the training forest. And this time round, Qiao Jin and the rest used Yi Qing Luo's method. All the students were split into groups of 3, each holding a wooden token. Yi Qing Luo listened and nodded her head in interest. 3 people guarding 1 wooden token, snatching another wooden token. This is indeed a good training method. To win, one person's hard work was probably not enough. They had to coordinate well and work hard together, to be able to guard their own token and snatch the opponent's token. Tong Ziqing and Ni Ruo Pan are in the same group. Their expressions seemed a little strange and I'm worried that they would create a ruckus, so I let Xiao Yi be in the same group as them, just in case. Bei Ming Lu added. Yi Qing Luo nodded. Based on Tong Ziqing's character, it would indeed be better with Yan Xiao Yi around. The two of them took a long detour, until they reached the rear mountain of the heavenly training forest. Bei Ming Lu felt around a certain mountain wall for some time and the ground started to vibrate. The mountain wall in front of them was split into 2, revealing a long secret passage. This is the passage to the training forest, but usually it is sealed by the enchantment. We can only enter after the elder opens the entrance. Bei Ming Lu took the lead and walked into the secret passage. Yi Qing Luo followed closely behind. She was thinking that after the elder opened the entrance to the training forest, the high profound classes masters and elders would be guarding the entrance. Then how should they sneak into the training forest? She had not expected that there was such a secret passage at the rear mountain of the training forest. I just finished the instructor's freshman training, so I'm late. Are there any groups? As for the heavenly training forest, Yi Qing Luo was eager to give it a try. Bai Ming Lulu spread out her hand and took out a wooden token and handed it over. The class monitor said that you each have a wooden token. Yi Qing Luo received the wooden token and looked at the 30 points displayed above. The corners of her mouth twitched. Not only did he not return her chi, he even wanted her to fight a 1v3. Did Long Yun Zhan believe in her strength too much, or was he purposely messing with her? That's right. Master Gue Yu also took the wooden token and entered the training forest, saying that he wanted to nurture his relationship with the students. Bei Ming Lu didn't feel the turbulent waves in Yi Qing Luo's heart as she continued. Teacher Gue Yu. Was there a need to go so far? Old man Gue Yu was also participating in this training. Who could beat him? Even Yi Qing Luo had a messy feeling, not to mention how the other students' inner hearts were galloping in all sorts of ways. The other students are moving in groups. Only you and teacher Gue Yu are moving alone. We heard that the high profound class will be challenging the high profound zone, so this time, our zone will be the middle profound zone. Chapter 322. As the two spoke, they had already entered the middle profound area of the training forest. Although it was called a training forest, it was indeed a forest. As far as the eye could see, it was densely packed with lush green trees. This kind of environment was the most suitable for fighting in the wild. There were dense trees everywhere, perfect for hiding and ambushing. It wasn't just a test of one's strength, but also one's reaction and intelligence. The students went in early in the morning. The one with the highest score has already reached 54 points. Bai Ming Lulu analyzed the current situation. You're late by 2 hours and have fallen behind them. You have to catch up as much as possible. Yi Qing Luo nodded thoughtfully. 54. It wasn't too high. No group of students had been eliminated yet. Calculating the time, it was about time for the students to snatch the wooden tokens of the other groups. As long as one group made the first move, the other groups would probably wait for an opportunity to make their move. They all know that you and teacher Gue Yu are acting alone. They don't have the ability to deal with teacher Gue Yu, but they will target you. I know, I will take note. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she walked deeper into the forest. The middle profound region's overall strength was roughly around the mystic profound 7th grade. The magical beasts wandering around were all mid-level magical beasts, with a small number of high-level magical beasts mixed in. However, no matter what level the magical beast was, killing one would only accumulate 1 point. Because of this, in order to save trouble, the students basically searched for mid-level magical beasts to kill. Along the way, there were many mid-level magical beast corpses on the ground. Less than 50 meters into the depths, he saw a small person curled up under a lush tree. She sat against the tree, hugging her knees and burying her head between them. Her slender body trembled from time to time, as if she was sobbing. Yiqing Luo frowned and walked over quickly. "Ni Ruo Pan, why are you here?" Hearing Yiqing Luo's voice, Ni Ruo Pan immediately raised her head as she opened her misty teary eyes and spoke with a sobbing tone, "Madam Qing Luo." Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings. "Where's Tong Ziqing?" I don't want to be in the same group as her, I want to be in the same group as Madam Qing Luo." Ni Ruo Pan pursed her lips as she raised her hand to wipe her tears fiercely. "Madam Qing Luo, you're also in a team alone, can I join your team?" Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter as she stared at Ni Ruo Pan's skinny little face, as a chilly intent appeared in her eyes. "I thought you already wanted to improve, but I didn't expect you to treat yourself as a weakling deep down in your bones." Yiqing Luo shook off Ni Ruo Pan's hand which was grabbing her. Her exquisite face was covered with a layer of frost. She purposely arranged Ni Rupan and Tong Ziqing to be in the same group because she wanted to familiarize themselves with their characters. One was as petty as dust, while the other thought too highly of himself. If these two extreme people could work together, they would definitely be able to change these shortcomings. However, Ni Rupan was the first to give up. I didn't, Madam Qing Luo, it's not that I don't want to become stronger, but Sister Ziqing feels that I'm a hindrance. Ni Ruo Pan's eyelashes which were wet with tears drooped down as she explained in a submissive manner. She bit her lower lip, trying hard to stop her tears from flowing. "I know that with my strength, it's very difficult in the middle profound zone. I tried my best to cooperate with Big Sister Ziqing, but these are not excuses." Yiqing Luo's voice was chilly as she crossed her arms and spoke calmly. "I never keep weaklings by my side." Chapter 323. She had done everything she could to help Ni Rupan. It was up to Ni Rupan to overcome her inner cowardice and inferiority complex. "Madam Qing Luo." Ni Ruo Pan's hand which was flung away froze in mid-air as he stared blankly at Yiqing Luo. But when she met Yiqing Luo's icy cold gaze, she seemed to have been hit by a stick as she violently shook her head. "Madam Qing Luo, I'm not a weakling. I will also become strong enough to stand by your side." Yiqing Luo had once said that I'm born with a talent, I'm bound to be useful. He had said that he had proven his ability by passing the Heavenly Academy's entrance examination. She was definitely not trash. She wanted to be as confident as Yiqing Luo, so that one day, she would have enough qualifications to become Yiqing Luo's left and right arm. Ni Ruo Pan's eyes lit up with a resolute expression as she lifted her sleeve to wipe the tears off her face. "I'll go back to look for Sister Ziqing now. For Madam Qing Luo, I will definitely work hard. Not for me, but for yourself." Yiqing Luo shook her head slowly. Ni Rupan stared at her and smiled through her tears. After that, she turned around and ran towards the dense forest ahead. Yiqing Luo stared at her back as she sighed helplessly. Just as he was about to start walking in another direction, just as he turned to the side, a fierce whirlwind assaulted him. The shadows of the trees were mottled, making an ear-piercing rustling sound. Yiqing Luo reacted in time and with a light tap of her toes, she swiftly retreated backwards. The dense trees in front of him swayed, and the light that blocked the sunlight flickered. Bang! A loud sound reverberated as that whirlwind blasted onto the place where Yi-Ching Luo was standing earlier, exploding out a black hole. Madame Ching Luo. Hearing the noise, Ni Ruo Pan turned around and saw that Yi-Ching Luo had been ambushed. The shadows of the trees swayed and 3 figures appeared in front of Yi-Ching Luo. Student Yi. A smile hung on Dan Baishi's face. I've always remembered the battle with you when we first entered the academy. Today is a rare opportunity. Why don't we use the wooden token as a wager and have a match? These 3 people, weren't they 3 of the 8 people who ambushed Yi-Ching Luo in the outer courtyard when she just joined the devil class? Dan Baishi seemed to have been knocked unconscious by her that day. Was he here to seek revenge? Yi-Ching Luo's eyes rose slightly as she laughed lightly. How do you want to compete? Last time you alone defeated the 8 of us. Dan Baishi removed the wooden token from her waist, as she displayed the numbers on it to Yi-Ching Luo, 42 points. This point was not the best at the moment, but it was not too far behind either. Now, we have 42 points, and we're betting 30 points on you. Dan Baishi pointed to the 2 male students behind her. If Student Yi alone defeats the 3 of us, it will be your win. You guys are robbers. Ni Ruo Pan's expression changed drastically as he opened up his arms and stood in front of Yi-Ching Luo, 3 against 1 and you still act so righteous. Dan Baishi sneered, and swept a disdainful glance at Ni Ruo Pan. Yo, isn't this the little trash that was abandoned by big sister Yi-Ching? You can help if you want, but... Are you sure you're helping, or dragging her down? I'm not trash. Ni Ruo Pan bit her lower lip tightly as that skinny little face shot out a resolute conviction. You're the trash. You obviously know that you can't defeat Madame Ching Luo alone, so you want to join forces with the 3 of us to snatch Madame Ching Luo's wooden token. Chapter 324. You all. Student Dan is right, this is the rule and it's unreasonable. Yi-Ching Luo stretched out her hand and pushed Ni Ruo Pan aside as she slowly walked towards Dan Baishi. Her charming eyes curved into a long and narrow arc, and her sweet voice lowered a few notches. Since Student Dan wants to bet, I will naturally accept this bet. This smile was extremely alluring. But Dan Baishi shuddered as her back started to feel chilly. She forced herself to hang on as she maintained a calm expression on her face. Just as she was about to shout for the 2 people behind her to attack Yi-Ching Luo, that greenish-white figure suddenly disappeared in front of her eyes. As though she had blended into the air. Dan Baishi's expression changed abruptly as she gave a low cry and speedily turned around as she drew out the long sword on her waist. Pay attention. Watch her closely. Her words had just ended when she heard a student giving a dull moan as his tall and mighty figure instantly flew out. He rolled several rounds on the ground and crashed against a thick tree trunk as he stopped. That huge tree which required 2 people to hug was swayed from the impact as leaves started to fall. That was enough to show the might of this collision. That male student's face turned pale as he groaned in pain and fainted not too long later. At the place where the male student was standing earlier, that slender and enchanting lady had a pair of sparkling eyes as she gave a flirtatious smile. Even though they were both wearing the same green and white uniform, she looked like a budding lotus on her body. Pure and elegant, making one not dare to look at her directly. Dan Baishi and the other male students' eyes widened as they were filled with astonishment. If it was said that day when Yi-Ching Luo fell into devil class, the 8 of them were defeated by Yi-Ching Luo, they could find an excuse to say that it was because they had belittled Yi-Ching Luo and weren't prepared. But now, they didn't even know when Yi-Ching Luo made her move or how she did it. If the person who flew out was them. Dan Baishi's petite little face turned extremely pale as she retreated a few steps. Yi-Ching Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she crooked her finger at Dan Baishi. Come, it's your turn now. Dan Baishi bit her lower lip fiercely as her pair of beautiful eyes stared at Yi-Ching Luo in terror as she clenched her fists tightly. After a while, she tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and quickly retreated into the forest at the side. As for the male student who was left behind, when he saw Dan Baishi leave alone with the wooden token, his brows furrowed. He clenched his fists tightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo for some time before gritting his teeth. As long as there's one survivor in our team, he represents our entire team. Kill or torture, it's up to you. You do have some backbone. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly. The feeling of being abandoned by your own companions isn't very good, right? The male student's upright face was slightly pale. The reason why this combat training has been changed to a team competition is to cultivate your sense of teamwork. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up in ridicule as her charming eyes were filled with cold ridicule. I'll temporarily let you return to student Dan's side. Let me see your team awareness. After Yiqing Luo finished her words, she walked towards that fainted male student. She stretched out her hand to feel the male student's forehead as she skillfully took his pulse, while saying, "Also pass a message to student Dan. I will remember this bet, and if we meet again later, I will not show any mercy." Yiqing Luo took out a medicine bottle from the profound phoenix ring as she poured out a medicinal pill which was used to nurture internal injuries and stuffed it into the male student's mouth. "This companion of yours will be fine. Later when Lulu comes on patrol, she will bring him back for treatment." That male student's expression stiffened slightly as he looked at his companion who had taken the medicinal pill. His face regained some color. Chapter 325. Madame Qing Luo. Madame Qing Luo. Ni Ruopan hurriedly chased up to Yiqing Luo's footsteps. The way she looked at Yiqing Luo was filled with worship as her eyes shone brightly. Sir Qing Luo was simply too handsome. She was simply the goddess in her heart. She was even more determined to follow Madame Qing Luo's footsteps till death. Yiqing Luo's footsteps didn't stop as she heard the young lady shouting her name at the top of her lungs. Hearing someone chasing after him and calling him my lord, he felt a little uncomfortable. For the rest of the journey, it was quiet. They didn't see any other students. It was so quiet that it was as if she and Ni Rupan were the only ones left in the middle profound zone. Occasionally, one or two mid-level battle-type magical beasts would appear. Looking at Ni Ruopan who had been following her with a cautious look, Yiqing Luo let her deal with the intermediate-level magical beast alone. Ni Rupan did not refute the goddess's words. No matter how afraid he was in his heart, he still braced himself, released his profound energy, and charged toward the mid-level magical beast. Ni Rupan's physical quality was rather poor, hence it was indeed a little strenuous for her to face these mid-level magical beasts. In particular, Ni Ruopan's actual combat training was too little. There were several times when she was almost scratched by the mid-grade magical beasts. Fortunately, Yiqing Luo reminded her to avoid them in time. Yiqing Luo had no intention to go up and help, but at the most crucial moment, she would remind Ni Ruopan where to attack, how to avoid it, and how to calculate the magical beast's movements and frequency. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, no matter how bad Ni Rupan's aptitude was, she understood how to use her advantage to defeat the demonic beasts. Ni Rupan cried out in joy after she exhausted her strength to kill another demonic beast. She did it. He really did it. She killed a mid-level magical beast. In the past, Ni Rupan never thought that she could defeat a demonic beast with her poor aptitude. Even low-level magical beasts couldn't do it, let alone mid-level magical beasts. Ni Ruopan skipped as she dashed towards Yiqing Luo, so excited that her eyes were brimming with tears. "Madame Qing Luo, I've done it. I really did it." Yiqing Luo's lips curled. "I saw it, it's not bad." It was a simple sentence, but Ni Ruopan was so excited that she cried tears of joy. She wiped her tears and couldn't stop giggling. The goddess had praised her. The goddess' acknowledgement was more effective than any words. In his mind, he suddenly heard the goddess's cold and firm voice saying, "Everyone has their own dignity. Before they give up on themselves, no one can say that they are trash. After that, the two of them went deeper into the forest. When they met with magical beasts, Yiqing Luo let Enai Ruo take over. She killed one demonic beast after another, and about 5 demonic beasts died in her hands. Enai Ruopan gradually became more proficient from her original timid self. Kicking and punching, his movements were smooth and seamless. Time passed by one breath at a time. Soon, the sky gradually darkened. Enai Rupan was exhausted, but she still wanted to continue. Enai Rupan's body was covered in the blood of the demonic beasts, and her nostrils were filled with the smell of blood, but she did not notice it at all. It was until they killed another middle-grade magical beast. Enai Ruopan's brows were filled with smiles. Madam Qing Luo, how many points have you accumulated for your wooden token? She had killed so many magical beasts that she should have at least 12 points. Chapter 326. You're a member of Tong Zi Qing's team, so the points from killing the magical beasts naturally belong to your team members. Yiqing Luo brushed away the wooden token on her waist as she replied disapprovingly. Then why did you ask me to kill the magical beasts? You should be the one to do it. Enai Rupan bit her lower lip and looked like she wanted to cry but had no tears. She had put in so much effort just to earn more points for her goddess. Who would have thought that it would actually benefit Tong Ziqing? Don't feel resentful. That's your team. It's your team. Yiqing Luo played it down as she continued to walk forward. Your motive for participating in the actual combat training is to help your team accumulate points. Enai Ruopan pursed her lips as she silently followed behind Yiqing Luo. At this time, the sky had already turned completely dark. The dense trees around them looked like witches with their hands wide open, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, trying to swallow people into their stomachs. Do you know when the entrance to the training forest closes? For the entire day, apart from Dan Baishi and the others, she and Enai Rupan did not see anyone else. He wondered how the other students were faring. Enai Ruopan raised her head and looked at the sky that was covered by the lush foliage. It was so dark that not a single ray of light could be seen. Vice class monitor said that we must report to the secret passage before the night. What time of the day? Yiqing Luo calculated that there were still about 2 hours left. Let's go. Yiqing Luo opened her arms and stretched her muscles. Enai Rupan was confused. Where are we going? Yiqing Luo twisted her neck and said lightly, looking for students, snatching points. Ha! Enai Rupan blinked and returned to her senses after a while. Yiqing Luo had already walked far away and she hurriedly jogged up to her. Madam Qing Luo, are you going to snatch other students' wooden tokens? If they didn't snatch it now, when would they? These students had been working hard for an entire day, and at this time, they were exhausted. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a crafty arc. The most important thing now was to find the other students. Enai Ruopan went into a daze for some time before she understood Yiqing Luo's meaning from the deep smile on her lips. Madam Qing Luo, you're so treacherous. His words had just ended when his body was suddenly pulled by Yiqing Luo and he stood behind 2 huge trees. Ouch! Enai Rupan's body was slammed against the tree trunk, and her face was covered by the surrounding leaves. Qing! Before he could say anything, Yiqing Luo growled, shut up. Yiqing Luo's expression was grave as she squinted her eyes and looked ahead through the tree branches. Not far away, there was a hubbub of noise. More than 10 students dressed in green and white uniforms surrounded a person who had fallen to the ground. He could vaguely hear the coarse curses of a few people. What is this thing? It actually ran into the training forest. He's neither a human nor a beast. The training forest is basically sealed off. It's only opened when the classes have actual combat training. How could something else have gotten in? While those people were discussing, they heard another person shout, make way, the acting vice president is here, everyone make way. The students surrounding him immediately moved aside to make a path for him. Through the luminous pearls in the student's hands, Yiqing Luo saw that person's face on the ground. It was an unfamiliar face, and he was not a student of the devil class. That was a petite young lady, curled up on the ground. The young lady's attire was extremely strange. It was a black furry long robe, wrapping around her petite body. That exquisite little face was as pale as a piece of paper. Chapter 327. The students in front of her were all from the high profound class. No wonder she hadn't seen any devil class students. Unknowingly, she had barged into the high profound class. Fortunately, she didn't bump into any high profound class students along the way. Otherwise, if the high profound class knew that she had entered the training forest, it would implicate the devil class. Ni Ruopan also noticed the figure in front of her and froze on the spot, not daring to move. On the other side, following the respectful greetings of the students, Lu Shuelon slowly walked in front of the young girl, surrounded by the stars and the moon. A little girl. Lu Shuelon squinted her beautiful eyes as she lifted her leg and gave the young lady a kick. Where did you come from? The young lady opened her clear eyes and shrank back as she shook her head. Bring her out and hand her over to the elder quarters. Lu Shuelon rolled her eyes in disdain, as arrogant as a rooster. Don't bother me with such a small matter, I'm very busy. Yes, Vice President is appointed today and has so many things on hand. For the glory of the high profound class, you took time out of your busy schedule to participate in the actual combat training. It's just a stranger, just hand her over to the elder. A female student beside her smiled flatteringly as she kept on bootlicking. Such a responsible vice president like Vice President, I think it won't be long before you can officially take up the post. Lu Shuelon had a complacent look as she laughed and walked past the young lady. Lu Shueyu was punished and Lu Shuelon took over. These two sisters looked very close on the surface, but she didn't expect that. They were scheming against each other for the sake of status. Madam Qing Luo, that person looks so pitiful. Ni Ruopan said in a low voice. Yiqing Luo's eyes flickered slightly. That young lady was covered in injuries, and if she didn't take the time to treat her, she might not even be able to keep her life. She wondered what kind of cruel methods these high profound class students had used on a little girl. But Yiqing Luo didn't want to be nosy. She couldn't care less. She wasn't omnipotent. There were more than 10 high profound class students. If she rushed out, wouldn't she be courting death? Especially if she were to poke her nose into this, wouldn't it be telling the high profound class students that she had come to the training forest? And then, it would implicate the devil class. In the end, the elder would investigate and close the secret passage to the training forest. Little Luo. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to pull Ni Ruopan away, Old Man Tsang's voice suddenly rang in her mind. She was startled and replied, I'm here. If I'm not mistaken, that girl should be a beastman. Beastmen. Yiqing Luo frowned, not understanding what the beast-human clan was. The beastmen race is different from magical beasts. Magical beasts are pure beasts, while the beastmen race should be considered half-human and half-beast. Old Man Tsang explained in a deep voice, the beastmen race is born half-human and half-beast. Hearing Old Man Tsang's words, Yiqing Luo then noticed that the lady lying on the ground had 2 black ears on top of her bundled-up hair. It was furry and trembled from time to time. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Cat beast. The Beastman clan is extremely rare in the Nirvana realm, and it can even be said that they have long been extinct. Old Man Tsang was silent for a moment, and his tone became serious. I never thought that I would actually be able to see another Beastman. The Nirvana realm was already extinct. Could it be that this young lady came from outside the Nirvana realm? Chapter 328. Contract. Although the beast men looked like half human and half beast, but if you didn't look closely, no matter how you looked at it, it looked like a human. If you made a contract with it, it felt like you were making a contract with a person. The biggest difference between the magical beasts and the beast men is this. Old Man Tsang continued in a deep voice, the magical beast contract is your battle partner, for you to ride, to cooperate with you in battle. Whereas the beastman contract is to provide you with internal support, to receive the beastman's bloodline inheritance. Bloodline. Bloodline inheritance is to share the strength of the beastmen with you. Old Man Tsang's tone became a little excited. Humans all want to sign a contract with the beastmen, to receive the beastman's bloodline inheritance. This will be of great help to your cultivation. You mean, I should save her? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows slightly. This is for your own good. The beastmen appearing in Nirvana realm is a rare opportunity. Indeed, it was a rare opportunity. But, under such circumstances, how should she save that young lady? Madam Qing Luo, what are you thinking about? Ni Ruopan carefully tugged at Yi Qing Luo's sleeve. Yi Qing Luo kept a calm face and didn't make a sound. Ni Ruopan was a little scared. A way to save her. Yi Qing Luo frowned as her brain worked. She saw a student lifting the young lady with one hand and preparing to leave the training forest. Yi Qing Luo didn't have time to hesitate. She gritted her teeth and used her thoughts to call out Shi Ju. Ever since leaving the magic beast forest, Shi Ju had been staying in the pet space. Shi Ju was the same size as Chi Chi, sitting on the ground and looking up at Yi Qing Luo. Ni Ruopan was shocked when a little thing suddenly popped out. Yi Qing Luo quickly untied her uniform and took out a set of red dress that Dmo Xian had prepared for her from the profound phoenix ring. She threw the uniform to Ni Ruopan. Do you still remember the way? Ni Ruopan nodded. She might not be good at other things, but her memory was the best. She followed Yi Qing Luo left and right along the way. To prevent getting lost, she specially remembered all the roads. All right, go back the way you came and wait for me at the place where we met. Yi Qing Luo said as she untied her hair tie, letting her fine black hair fall down. You want to be alone, there's less than 2 hours left. We'll leave immediately after we save them. At the same time when her words fell, Shi Ju received Yi Qing Luo's instructions and its palm-sized figure suddenly transformed into a leopard beast in battle form. Roar! A sharp howl came from Shi Ju's mouth. The size of Shi Ju's combat form was a little bigger than when he saw it in the magical beast forest. This change naturally attracted the attention of the high-level class students. Yi Qing Luo leaped up and landed on the back of Shi Ju. At the same time, her fingertips lifted a white veil, covering half of her face. When Shi Ju transformed, Ni Rupan was completely stunned. Her aptitude was mediocre, but she had a good memory. She liked to read books that were helpful to her cultivation. Naturally, he could recognize that this leopard-shaped magical beast was a low-level magical beast. A mirage beast. What level of magical beast was that? In the entire Three Springs city, there were no more than 3 families that could take out a mirage beast. Madam Qing Luo had actually contracted a mirage beast as her own war pet. Oh my god! What kind of pervert was her goddess? Chapter 329. Yi Qing Luo's vision had been paying attention to Ni Ruopan. Seeing that she had gone far away, Yi Qing Luo rode on Shi Ju and speedily approached that group of students. Who is it? More than 10 students stopped in their tracks and raised the luminous pearl. One of the students frowned and berated sternly, "Do you know what this place is?" These students had some doubts in their hearts. The entrance to the heavenly training forest would usually only be open during class training. Why were there so many strangers today? Wait! Some students exclaimed, "That's a mirage beast. Low-level mirage beast. More than 10 students' expressions changed when they heard the two words mirage beast. Their faces revealed an astonished look. Mirage beast. Even if it was a low-level mirage beast, they would not be its opponent even if they worked together to deal with it. But there was actually a person sitting on the back of a low-level mirage beast. There was actually someone who could contract a mirage beast. What happened? Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice came from afar. Yi Qingqian stepped on the air and landed gracefully in front of the students. Yi Qingqian had been living a miserable life recently. Ever since the last time when she brought Lu Shuiyu to catch Yi Qing Luo for violating the school rules, but was slapped on the face by Yi Qing Luo and was forced to wash the toilet for 3 days, Yi Qingqian had been isolated by the students. Lu Shuiyu wouldn't do anything to her on the surface, but the means of revenge in the dark was enough to torture her until she begged for mercy. Today, Lu Shuilan's promotion saved her from the edge of isolation. She wanted to achieve a good result in today's actual combat training, to regain the good impression of the students. Coincidentally, she had accumulated over 40 points and was preparing to leave to find Lu Shuilan to flatter her, but she discovered the commotion over here. Thinking of the recent few days, the students had isolated her under Lu Shuiyu's hint. She had to change her image and maintain the reputation of Three Springs Town's #1 beauty. Therefore, after she saw the commotion, she immediately came up to welcome them. Student Qingqian. A student saw Yi Qingqian's arrival and was overjoyed. Although Yi Qingqian had offended Lu Shuiyu these few days, everyone had been avoiding her. But today Lu Shuilan had ascended to the position and everyone wasn't willing to offend the pampered eldest young miss of Three Springs sect, so they tried to cater to her perfunctorily. Most importantly, Yi Qingqian's profound grade was above them. Student Qingqian, there's a stranger in the training forest. The student pointed at the young lady who was being carried, and glanced at Yi Qing Luo's direction apprehensively. The minute Yi Qingqian came over, her vision fell onto Yi Qing Luo. That red dress which was like a blooming rose and that enchanting temperament made her subconsciously think of Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qingqian's eyes darkened as her gaze turned sharp. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes as she met Yi Qingqian's probing gaze with a smile which didn't look like a smile. The red lips under the veil curled up into a sneer. He had not expected Yi Qingqian to be here as well. But Yi Qingqian's eyes seemed to have recognized her. Yi Qingqian understood her so well. Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes curved as she intentionally suppressed her own voice, changing the tone of her voice. I'm just passing by this place, I don't want to start a dispute with you, I only need you to hand that young lady over to me. Passing by. Yi Qingqian scoffed, the entrance here is usually sealed and only open today, how did you pass by? What has it got to do with you? Yi Qing Luo patted Shi Ju lightly, indicating it to come closer. Chapter 330. No matter how mentally prepared Yi Qingqian was, she couldn't help but shriek out in fright when she saw the head of a huge leopard. I have no intention to cause trouble, hand the girl over to me and I will leave immediately. Yi Qing Luo spat in disdain as she raised her eyes and looked directly at the direction of the girl. The student who was carrying the young girl fell to the ground when his gaze swept past him. She blinked her eyes, her pure eyes revealed a bit of fear and innocence, a delicate and pitiful look. Yi Qing Luo's figure swayed as she flipped down from the jade and flew towards the girl. Just as her hand was about to pull the girl into her arms, suddenly a paw-paw sound came from the air. A soft whip, as fast as lightning, lashed over fiercely, making a whistling sound in the air. Trespassers in the heavenly training forest must be arrested and sent to the elder quarters. Yi Qingqian shouted and waved the long whip to stop Yi Qing Luo's action. That whip was lashed with great force. Yi Qing Luo's hand retracted and her body fell down softly. Her body had already avoided this long whip in an extremely strange posture. Yi Qingqian's delicate brows twisted into a ball and her face turned extremely ugly. She was unconvinced as she flipped the long whip and lashed it towards Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Qian's original weapon was a soft whip. Previously Yiqing Luo had destroyed a supreme divine whip and Yi Tianquang had found a pure quality long whip for her. Although it was not as powerful as the previous divine whip, but after all it was still the best of the pure quality. When the whip lashed down, there was a trace of indistinct electric current running along the whip's body. She is indeed student Qing Qian, the #1 genius beauty of Three Springs sect, a well-deserved reputation. The high profound class students couldn't help but praise Yiqing Qian's action and posture. These students' aptitudes were all above average. But that didn't stop them from praising the strong. Yiqing Qian's whip skills were incomparably elegant. His every move was like a dance. And that long whip, swept through the air, brought about a sound of breaking wind, which made one's heart tremble. Even if it was them, probably no one could avoid Yiqing Qian's whip. But, what surprised them was that the red-clothed woman with a white veil on her face was as nimble as a loach. They were unable to catch her at all. Yiqing Qian's every whip missed. The whip struck the ground around them, causing cracks to appear on the ground. Yiqing Luo took out a dagger from the profound phoenix ring and pointed it at Yiqing Qian. The radiance of the night pearls in the surroundings reflected the dagger's blade aura. It was extremely dazzling. Yiqing Luo didn't use the glower flame fan, and based on Yiqing Qian's understanding of herself, she would probably be recognized the minute she used the fan. Yiqing Luo was proficient in light weapons. Daggers and feather fan were no different. That dagger could cut through iron like mud. It had barely touched Yiqing Qian by half an inch and it had already been cut. But as the dagger flew around Yiqing Luo's fingertips, it didn't hurt her fingers at all. On the contrary, Yiqing Qian was forced to retreat by that dagger. Yiqing Luo's control of the dagger was extremely agile, as it slashed towards her body, as though it would slice her neck in the next second. The terrain of the training forest was extremely disadvantageous to Yiqing Qian. The surrounding forest was dense and Yiqing Qian's long whip, the space was too narrow and faced with resistance, the power was not even half of the power displayed in a spacious area. Chapter 331. After a few rounds, Yiqing Qian was like a mouse being teased, unable to resist at all. When the surrounding students saw this scene, the admiration towards Yiqing Qian gradually turned into ridicule. Yiqing Qian's face flushed red. This was called not being able to act cool and instead became a coward. She whipped the long whip hatefully, wishing she could whip the lady in red 81 times. Women in red were all so hateful. Yiqing Luo was. And this lady too. Why are you all still standing there foolishly? If the elder knew that an outsider had entered the training forest and we let the outsider escape, how would he punish the high profound class? At this moment, Yiqing Qian had no intention to continue to be in the limelight. Her mind was filled with thoughts of gathering more than 10 students to take down this lady in red and let her torture her. The high profound class students frowned, not liking Yiqing Qian's tone. They had always been respected in the academy and were used to being flattered. They were used to seeing Yiqing Qian's gentle and generous look, but when they heard Yiqing Qian's commanding words, they revealed a displeased look. Seeing that those students were unmoved, Yiqing Qian was so angry that she almost vomited blood. In this moment of absent-mindedness, there was a cold touch on her cheek. She immediately concentrated and was about to avoid it. However, the enchanting figure in red before him waved her sleeves lightly. An icy coldness streaked across her cheek. Immediately, there was a stinging pain on the side of her cheek, as if there was liquid flowing out. You dare to ruin my face. Yiqing Qian's eyes widened as she reached out to touch her cheek. Sure enough, there was a stickiness on her hand. What women cared most about was their own appearance. Especially Yiqing Qian, who was known as the #1 beauty in Three Spring City, she cared about her own appearance even more. Yiqing Luo played with the dagger in her hand, which was stained with blood. Her brows revealed a mocking sneer. "Next time, it will be your left cheek. Are you ready?" "You." Yiqing Qian gripped the long whip tightly and lashed it towards Yiqing Luo in anger. A strong profound qi broke out from Yiqing Qian's body. A powerful wave of qi encircled her body. That long whip drew a black arc in mid-air, like a soft snake, as it wound towards Yiqing Luo. With a belly full of anger, the profound energy released was much more ferocious than before. If you're still students of the high profound class, you shouldn't just stand by and watch. Not only will we be punished by the elders for trespassing into the training forest, but we will also be reported to the entire academy. When that time comes, I won't be the only one who will be embarrassed. Yiqing Qian had learned her lesson this time round. These students had stood at the top for a long time, and they valued their reputation more than anyone else. Inform the entire academy that the high profound class had released a stranger who trespassed into the training grounds. The one who was embarrassed was the entire high profound class. If word got out that a dozen of them from the high profound class allowed a girl to come and go as she pleased and even brought an injured person away, the students from the other classes would probably doubt the capability of the high-level class. Those 10 over students exchanged glances and headed towards Yiqing Luo's direction, surrounding her. "Shijue." Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed coldly as her lips curled into a treacherous sneer. She shouted out, and Shiju, who was originally standing not too far away, widened its beast eyes as it stared unblinkingly at its master. With a leap, it broke through those 10 over students' encirclement and stood right in front of Yiqing Luo. It arched its body, opened its mouth and gave out a low growl. Its sharp fangs were exceptionally dazzling. Chapter 332. One must know that if it was an experienced mercenary group facing a mirage beast, they would feel guilty. Not to mention these students. Yiqing Qian swallowed a mouthful of saliva, looking at the lady riding on the mirage beast's back. The coquettish red figure stung her eyes. She suppressed the surging fear in her heart and pursed her red lips tightly. This lady's profound grade is not high. As long as we restrain the mirage beast, we will subdue her, and that mirage beast will not dare to be rash. Just now, when they exchanged blows, Yiqing Qian sensed that the lady's profound grade was not considered high. She was able to avoid her long whip only because of the terrain here and the lady's agility. The only thing worthy of their vigilance was that low-grade mirage beast. Red dress, leopard-type mirage beast. If it wasn't for the fact that this mirage beast was not very similar to the leopard-type mirage beast they saw in the magical beast, Yiqing Qian would have thought that this lady was Yiqing Luo. However, when she thought that Yiqing Luo was still in the waste class and had no chance to appear here, she suppressed this thought in her heart. More than a dozen students heard this and once again surrounded Yiqing Luo and Shiju. "Miss, this is the Heavenly Academy's restricted area. You trespass here has violated the school's rules. You'd better surrender obediently and follow us to see the elders." One of the male students frowned and tried to reason with Yiqing Luo. The prestige of the Heavenly Academy had spread throughout the Nirvana realm. Daring to create trouble in the Heavenly Academy, if the elders were to punish you severely, you might lose half your life. However, the lady opposite did not show any signs of fear. With a veil covering her face, he could not see her expression clearly. However, that pair of cold, enchanting eyes was like an ice-cold, poisonous tongue, ruthlessly pinching his heart. This lady's aura was too majestic. Even the name of the Heavenly Academy couldn't suppress her. What's the point of talking so much? The entrance to the training forest is about to close. Yiqing Qian's gentle and beautiful face was covered with a layer of sternness. Her voice also added some majesty. "You guys, go to the entrance to call for help. Today we must take down these outsiders who trespass into the training forest." Pausing for a moment, she continued, "For outsiders to trespass into the training forest, it is very likely to affect the safety of the other students. As students of the high profound class, if we can save the hidden safety of the school, it would be an honor for the high profound class. One of them went to the entrance to report while the others continued to be in a deadlock with Yiqing Luo. The dense forest and the training forest covered the bright moon in the sky. The surroundings were dark and gloomy, terrifying, and extremely stifling. Yiqing Qian had always been one of the top students in the class. Even though she had lost face and reputation due to many things, her strength was still there. At this moment, Yiqing Qian put on a solemn expression as she commanded everyone in an orderly manner. The other students were also thinking the same thing. To let the high profound class become the target of envy from the other classes, they immediately developed a conflicted heart and cooperated with Yiqing Qian. One must know that even though their high profound class was revered by the other students, however, they were still suppressed by the class of gods. At the mention of the high profound class, the students had to mention the class of gods and use it as a comparison. Yiqing Qian ordered 2 people to guard the injured young lady, in case she was taken away by Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo was taken away, they would not be able to catch up to her when she rode on the mirage beast. Yiqing Qian glanced sideways at the young lady lying on the ground. A cold glint appeared in her eyes as the long whip moved again. Chapter 333. Shiju's size was huge, but it was extremely agile. The surrounding dense forest was not a hindrance to it but a help. Its thick claws slammed hard on the ground and its huge body had already soared into the air. On the other hand, the earth quaked and the mountains shook as countless cracks appeared on the ground. Yiqing Qian didn't stop as she released her profound qi and injected it into the long whip. Her target was only Shiju. The surrounding students also quickly surrounded him and attacked him. Their target was Yiqing Luo. One against the mirage beast, the other against Yiqing Luo. One had to admit that Yiqing Qian's move was indeed ingenious. When Yiqing Qian attacked Shiju, Shiju avoided the attack of the long whip and charged forward to counterattack. On Yiqing Luo's side, a few high profound class students attacked from the left and right, setting off bursts of palm wind as they struck towards Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo and Shiju hadn't been together for a long time and the human and beast had yet to develop a tacit understanding. The high profound class split up to attack and Yiqing Luo was at a disadvantage. Just as Yiqing Qian's upper body curled up a whirlwind, Yiqing Luo's body flipped and rolled down from Shiju's back. When the students saw this, joy flashed past their eyes. As long as Yiqing Luo didn't have the mirage beast's help, it would be easy to capture her. Yiqing Qian's lips curled into a cold smile as she shouted, "Student Yan, Student Shengwan, I'll have to trouble the both of you to trap this mirage beast." Among the students who were entangled with Yiqing Luo, 2 of them retreated from the battle and flew towards Yiqing Qian's direction. A man and a woman. The man was holding a long sword and had a proper appearance. The minute he got close to Shiju, the long sword in his hand curled up a ray of sword radiance as it struck towards Shiju. After being shouted at by Yiqing Qian suddenly realized that this man holding a long sword, wasn't he Shengwan Lu Li's third brother, Shengwan Fang Yi? As for the other woman, her looks were exquisite and her brows had the same gentleness as Yiqing Qian. Only her eyes revealed a hint of viciousness. Not knowing if it was because the surroundings were too dark or Yiqing Luo's eyes were blurry, Yiqing Luo actually felt that this woman looked like someone. Not giving Yiqing Luo much time to think, Yiqing Qian's long whip had already lashed towards her. The 2 people that Yiqing Qian had chosen, one used a long blade while the other used a pair of blades. With their coordination, they really managed to block Shiju who was about to rush towards Yiqing Luo. This was the academy, Yiqing Luo could not kill anyone. Shiju could dodge and put on a threatening stance, but it couldn't really use its claws and mouth. Otherwise, with a single swipe of its claws, these high-profound class students would be turned into meat patties. If they were to leave with the cat-beast girl, these high-level class students would leave this matter unsettled in order to protect the reputation of the high-level class. Even if the academy were to conduct a thorough investigation, it would be done in secret to prevent disrupting the students' concentration in class. But if someone were to die here, and it was a high-profound class student, the consequences would be different. At this moment, Yiqing Luo was surrounded by 5 high-profound class students. Yiqing Jian sneered, "Trespasser, how dare you intrude into our high-profound class territory? Now, pay the price for your ignorance." That lady in red, as she walked, her skirt was slightly fluttering, like a rose blooming in the dark night, revealing a flirtatious yet fatal charm. In the darkness, it seemed as if a figure in Yiqing Qian's heart was gradually overlapping. If there was something strange, then it was strange that this lady had to wear a red skirt, and looked so similar to that little slut Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Qian's eyes seemed to be dipped in poison, becoming increasingly vicious. Seeing that Yiqing Qian's long whip was about to land on Yiqing Luo. Chapter 334. Yiqing Luo's speed was extremely fast, like a ghost. A chill arose in Yiqing Qian's heart. Just now when Yiqing Luo got close to her, her face was ruined by Yiqing Luo. With the previous lesson, Yiqing Qian swiftly retreated and with a feint, she avoided Yiqing Luo's entanglement. Yiqing Qian's long whip was a long-distance attack. And Yiqing Luo's dagger could only be used in close combat. As long as Yiqing Luo didn't get close to her, Yiqing Luo couldn't do anything to her. With this thought in mind, Yiqing Qian's eyes shot out a ray of light and the hand holding the long whip waved again. Yiqing Luo raised her brows with interest. Perhaps it was because she had trained Yiqing Qian previously, the current her seemed to be much more mature. She actually knew how to use her brain to think of a way to deal with it. Seemed like she had underestimated Yiqing Qian previously, treating her as a brainless idiot with big breasts. Yiqing Luo chuckled. Hearing that chuckle, Yiqing Qian's expression congealed, the cold glint in her eyes deepened as she raised her palm and brushed against the long whip. The whip's body suddenly shone with a red glow. Strong profound qi burst forth, like a snake that was blooming with light, slithering up. Earth profound early stage. Student Qing Qian actually broke through the earth profound stage. The 2 students who were guarding the cat beast girl had been watching the battle closely. The moment they saw the profound qi released by Yiqing Qian, their mouths immediately turned into an O shape. Such a strong wave, the surrounding had already set off layers of huge waves due to the profound qi released by Yiqing Qian. In a split second, the winds and clouds changed. I was wondering what had happened to student Qing Qian these few days. I didn't expect her to advance to the earth profound stage. She is indeed the eldest miss of 3 Springs sect, her innate talent is so strong. The 2 students couldn't stop exclaiming. Even the other students looked at Yiqing Qian in disbelief with a flabbergasted expression. Although the high profound class was an extremely talented class, the overall level of profound grade was above mystic profound 6th grade. And those who broke through the earth profound stage, the first and second class added up were no more than 5. Yiqing Qian's profound grade had always stayed at mystic profound 9th grade, especially recently, no one paid attention to her. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Qian actually broke through the earth profound stage quietly. Ha! This intruder is dead for sure. The high profound class students were rubbing their fists excitedly, as if they had already predicted the scene where they would bring these 2 intruders to the elder quarters to receive their commendation. The students of the high profound class were all outstanding students in terms of innate talent and perception. After exchanging blows with the intruder, they could sense that the lady's profound grade should be on par with them. Her only advantage was her precision, sensitivity, and speed. So what if he was fast? No matter how fast he would eventually tire out. As long as this intruder had no intention of leaving alone, they would be able to exhaust her strength round after round. What's more, with Earth Profound Realm Yi-Ching Qian around, no matter how fast she was, could she be faster than an Earth Profound cultivator? Even the difference of 1 grade was like the difference between heaven and earth. Not to mention the difference of a mystic class. They were not on the same level at all. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes surfaced a sliver of astonishment. She had not expected Yi-Ching Qian to break through to the Earth Profound Realm. The last time in the Magic Beast Forest, Yi-Ching Qian was still in the Mystic Profound 9th grade and there was no sign of her breaking through at all. When Yi-Ching Luo was in the Yellow Profound 9th grade, she was stuck for a long period of time. She was obviously on the verge of breaking through but had no way to do so. But in a short span of half a month, Yi-Ching Qian broke through such a huge barrier. Chapter 335. Not giving Yi-Ching Luo much time to think, that strong aura had already attacked Yi-Ching Luo. Releasing the profound energy of the Earth Profound Realm, Yi-Ching Qian's speed and the strength of the long whip had a qualitative leap. Yi-Ching Luo was fast, but she was even faster. The profound energy that lingered around the long whip seemed to have locked onto Yi-Ching Luo, as it tightly wrapped around her back. Yi-Ching Luo quickly stepped on the strange footwork, her figure seemed to have disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The other students who swarmed up were unable to use their naked eyes to track Yi-Ching Luo's figure. However, no matter where Yi-Ching Luo stopped, Yi-Ching Qian's long whip seemed to have grown eyes, chasing after her. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes flashed a trace of horror. Did she see it wrongly? It seemed like. On top of Yi-Ching Qian's long whip, other than that dark ray, there was a trace of faintly discernible black qi moving about. It was not obvious at all. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell. What kind of aura was this? Because of that moment of distraction, Yi-Ching Luo's right arm was swept by that long whip. Instantly, a hole was torn in her red robe, revealing Yi-Ching Luo's fair skin. On her arm, there was a scarlet whip mark, extremely clear. Yi-Ching Luo felt a burning pain on her arm, glancing sideways, that scarlet whip mark was already oozing blood. Intruder, don't you think you're very fast? Come. Let's see if your legs or my whip is faster. Yi-Ching Qian's lips curled into a proud arc, as she sneered and waved the long whip. Looking at the lady in red being whipped, Yi-Ching Qian had the pleasure of hitting Yi-Ching Luo, that little waste. Her beautiful eyes were gradually dyed with an excited smile, as she raised the long whip in her hand and attacked Yi-Ching Luo once again. Luo lass, I'm afraid your eldest sister used some unusual means to break through the Earth Profound Realm. Old Man Tsang's voice sounded in her mind. Unusual means. What did he mean? Was it related to that black qi? It's similar to your fourth sister, she has the aura from the dark side. Old Man Tsang's tone was solemn. He pondered for a moment and said, the last time your fourth sister used an item from the dark forces, it seemed to be related to your eldest sister. With Old Man Tsang's reminder, Yi-Ching Luo recalled that during the ability assessment, Yi-Ching Qian had personally admitted that she was the one who passed the long sword to Yi-Ching Ling. Her excuse was that she had borrowed the sword from her Shifu, the head of the largest school, the Ten Scenic. In this way, Yi-Ching Qian and that long sword were inextricably linked. Yi-Ching Qian really had connections with the dark forces. If your eldest sister really borrows the power of the dark forces and breaks through to the Earth Profound Realm. Old Man Tsang's tone became increasingly heavy. I'm afraid that your eldest sister will be the same as your fourth sister, controlled by the evil energy of the Profound Yin. While conversing with Old Man Tsang, Yi-Ching Qian did not stop her attacks. Yi-Ching Luo endured the pain from her arm and swiftly changed her footwork. Surely Yi-Ching Qian hadn't really been forced by her and made a deal with the dark forces, right? Last time, in order to fight for Yi-Ching Ling to be allocated to the high profound class. This time, was it to prove her ability? In order to become stronger, he was willing to pay any price. While she was dodging and dodging, the students had already invited the elder from the entrance. The mighty group of more than 10 people wasn't the one standing at the front of the group of people, Elder Yunxiang. Since yesterday, because of Lu Shuiyu's matter, he was caught red-handed by Yun Yun. In order to make Yiqing Luo satisfied, Yunxiang was also punished on the surface. Chapter 336. Yunxiang had thought that being in charge of the training forest was just opening the entrance and guarding the entrance to prevent students from getting injured during actual combat training. He had not expected that there would be an intruder. If this matter were to be passed to Yun Yun's ears, his small mistake would become a big one. Yunxiang was filled with dissatisfaction and wanted to settle the matter as soon as possible, so he hurried over. Standing far away, he saw Yiqing Qian waving her long whip as she chased after a lady in red. There was also a low-leveled mirage beast, and 2 students were struggling to stop the mirage beast. What's going on? What's going on? How could there be an intruder in the heavenly training forest? Elder Yunxiang frowned as he walked over quickly. Yiqing Qian kept her long whip and cupped her fists towards Yunxiang. Elder Yunxiang, the students from the high profound class will not let off anyone who tries to destroy the peace of the school. Yunxiang's gaze met Yiqing Qian and a trace of astonishment flashed past his eyes. He could naturally feel the earth profound qi that was released from Yiqing Qian. Another student from the high profound class had broken through to the earth profound class. Why was there no reminder on the school's wooden plaque? Lu Shuilan followed beside Yunxiang but realized that he kept staring at Yiqing Qian, and a trace of displeasure arose in her heart. Yunxiang had always been standing on Lu Shuiyu's side, and now that she had replaced Lu Shuiyu's position and became the acting vice president, it was only a matter of time before she became the vice president. But Yunxiang still had a lukewarm attitude towards her. Now he was still staring at Yiqing Qian. Could it be that he wanted to groom Yiqing Qian into the next Lu Shuiyu? This thought made Lu Shuilan's eyes sunk, and she immediately opened her mouth. What Qing Qian said is right, our faculty council will not let the intruder off. However, Lu Shuilan's words made the surrounding high profound class students unhappy. What did they mean by faculty council? This was obviously the intruder who was discovered by the high profound class, and it was them who exhausted their energy to capture the intruder. How did it become the faculty council's credit? But due to Lu Shuilan's status, the students did not dare to voice out their dissatisfaction but only looked at Lu Shuilan's gaze with unhappiness. What faction are you trying to form? Settle that illusion beast for me. All of you quickly take down the intruder. The entrance is about to close. Yunxiang felt annoyed and waved his sleeves impatiently. He didn't have the free time to watch the disputes between some juniors, and he felt even more anxious in his heart when he thought about how there was only less than an hour left until the hour of 9. The white long robe swept past in the dark night, turning into an afterimage. The person had already rushed in front of Shiju. He waved his palm, bringing with it a wave of killing intent as he chopped down. Shengguan Fangyi and Yan Zhenfei immediately retreated from the illusion beast's attack range. The 2 people's bodies were already riddled with scars long ago, all scratched by Shiju's claws. At this moment, 20 over high profound class students had surrounded Yiqing Luo. Class 1 and Class 2 had always been in a competitive relationship. But this time, the 2 classes were surprisingly cooperative. Yiqing Luo's arm was injured and her profound grade was not enough to withstand the earth profound qi. The corrosion of the long whip caused her long arms to ache. At this moment, more than 20 Mystic Realm students swarmed forward. Suddenly, from Yiqing Luo's surroundings, a few gold coin darts suddenly flew over. The force of those gold coin darts was ferocious and strong, and with a swoosh swoosh sound, it revolved around Yiqing Luo. Those high profound class students were on high alert as they sensitively took a few steps back. A few gold coin darts were embedded deeply into the ground. Chapter 337. only to see three figures approaching at an extremely fast speed. In just a blink of an eye, they were already standing next to Yiqing Luo. These three people were dressed in red robes and their heads were covered tightly, only revealing a pair of penetrating eyes. "There's help!" a student cried out in shock. Yun Xiang was restraining Shi Ju when he heard this cry as he looked over with rapt attention. He saw another three intruders by Yiqing Luo's side. His heart suddenly trembled as he was overwhelmed with shock. The entrance to the heavenly training forest had always been sealed. Only today was the entrance opened and he had been guarding the entrance. If anyone were to barge in, he would definitely be the first to discover it. How could there be so many intruders? Quickly take down these four people. When we return, the elder quarters will send people to search the entire training forest and catch all the intruders. Yun Xiang's face was gloomy as the moves he struck out became more and more vicious. Yiqing Luo held onto her right arm as her peripheral vision swept past the few people beside her as her pink lips pursed. "What are you guys doing here?" These three people were none other than Chao Jin, Yan Xiao En, Tong Ziqing. When she saw Tong Ziqing, Yiqing Luo was slightly astonished. "Didn't you say that we need to nurture our team consciousness? We're a team, aren't we?" Xiao Jin smiled as his tone was calm. "She did say that, but if the elder quarters were to find out, it would implicate the entire devil class." Yan Xiaoyi carefully avoided Yiqing Luo's injured arm as she patted her shoulder. "Don't worry, even if we suspect the entire academy, the elder quarters will absolutely not think that it's the devil class." "Stop the nonsense. Since you want us to understand what's called a team, why are you so apprehensive? Are you treating us as a team?" Tong Ziqing scoffed coldly. Her gaze towards Yiqing Luo was as unfriendly as usual. But the meaning in her words was obviously that she had listened to what Yiqing Luo said previously, acknowledging Yiqing Luo as her companion. Looking at the three people beside her, Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with warmth. Her brows were filled with smiles as she slowly nodded. "Yes, we're a team." Team. These two words, Yiqing Luo had thought and recited for 2 lifetimes. Finally today, she could openly say out the word team. In her previous life, as the head of the hidden family, she did not have the right to make friends, nor did she have the right to become companions with anyone. Everything she had should be given to the Yi family. This was the first time someone had treated her as a member of the team. She clenched her fists so tightly that she could no longer feel the pain from the whip wound on her arm. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and there was a gleam of confidence in the depths of her charming eyes. "Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to any of my companions." Yiqing Luo lowered her voice and shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady who was being guarded by Shengguan Fangyi. "If there's a chance, help me bring that young lady away. As long as we bring her away, we can easily leave this place." Yiqing Qian also knew that her target was to bring that young lady away. It was to prevent her from getting close to the young girl and exhausting her strength. However, with the help of Qiao Jin and the others, as long as they cooperated well, it would be an easy matter to bring that young lady away. The few of them exchanged glances and nodded in understanding. Yiqing Luo's vision returned back to those surrounding students. Her gaze suddenly fell onto the wooden tokens on the students' waists, as her long and narrow eyes were suffused with a trace of treacherous craftiness. She abruptly raised her palm and a burst of profound qi was unleashed from both her feet. Chapter 338. The branches rustled and the fallen leaves on the ground were blown away by the strong wind. The shadows of the trees danced, and when the whirlwind blew towards them, those 20 over students felt a chill down their spines. Suddenly, a student cried out in shock, "My wooden token is gone. And mine." One after another, the students touched the wooden tokens on their bodies in disbelief. That wooden token represented their points, represented their honor in the class. There was only 1 hour left till the end of the actual combat training. If they lost their wooden tokens now, it meant that their 1 day's hard work and 1 day's blood and sweat had all gone to waste. For students' wooden tokens were gone, and the other students immediately covered their own wooden tokens. After they touched their own wooden tokens, they heaved a sigh of relief. Those 4 students' faces were like frosted eggplants as they held tightly onto their waistbands, searching their entire bodies but couldn't find their wooden tokens. How could this be possible? They had obviously pinned their wooden tokens on their waistbands, waiting for the end of the training to lock in their own results. But if their wooden tokens were snatched away at this critical juncture, they would be eliminated. 1 hour. The eyes of the 4 students slowly landed on the students around them. Those 10 students who still had their wooden tokens immediately covered their own as they took a few steps away from those 4 students. Are you looking for your wooden tokens? I saw him earlier. He was the one who took advantage of the chaos to steal your wooden tokens. Yiqing Luo smiled innocently as her charming eyes curved as she pointed towards one of them. That person was stunned as his face flushed red. What nonsense are you sprouting? How could I possibly steal their wooden tokens? Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. The gazes of all the students were fixated on that person. Especially those 4 students who lost their wooden tokens, their gazes towards that person were filled with suspicion. It's not me. She's slandering us, trying to divide us. However, no matter how that person explained furiously, the students' eyes were filled with unconcealable suspicions. Suddenly, a sweet-sounding and calm voice rang out, "Don't be deceived by the intruder. He wants to make us fight among ourselves so that he can seize the opportunity to escape. How dare he show off such a petty trick in front of me?" Yiqing Qian's icy cold eyes stared coldly at Yiqing Luo as she scoffed, "The intruder is already injured, the other 3 are nothing to be afraid of." The students were skeptical. After all, this wooden plaque represented the final results of their training. If he were to be eliminated in the last hour, he would definitely suffer from internal injuries due to anger. Take him down first. If we continue to waste time like this, our wooden token will be in even more danger. One of the students shouted impatiently as he took the lead to raise his weapon and charged towards Yiqing Luo's direction. He hadn't even taken a few steps when he heard Yiqing Luo's clear voice leisurely ringing beside his ear, "Little brother, there's someone behind trying to steal your wooden token." The student subconsciously turned his head to look behind him. He saw the student whose wooden token had mysteriously disappeared standing behind him. He glared at the student whose wooden token was missing. Before he could explain himself, a gust of wind came slashing down from his palm. "You from class 2, I didn't steal your wooden token. How dare you sneak attack me?" When this palm landed, the student was so infuriated that he opened up a map. The collaboration between the 2 classes, which had been built up with much difficulty, was once again on the verge of collapse. Everyone looked at the person beside them, feeling that the other party was trying to snatch their wooden tokens. For a moment, suspicions lingered around the students, causing them to be on tenterhooks. Brilliant. Simply brilliant. Xiao Jin's lips twitched a few times. He knew that Yiqing Luo was black-bellied, but he had never seen such a black-bellied one. Chapter 339. Yiqing Luo's eyes rose as she added a few hints of ridicule. The human heart was originally selfish. Especially for those from high profound class, they were arrogant and had a heart higher than the sky. Other than themselves, they wouldn't believe anyone else. Now that they were grouped together, it was merely to make use of each other, to get what they needed. Yiqing Luo was just teasing her slightly, knowing that her words could possibly be fake. But they couldn't help but believe her words. Because they didn't dare to risk their own honor. What if the students from the other classes really wanted to snatch their wooden tokens? Class 1 and 2 students made a move, and that student from Class 1 called out the entire Class 2. This instantly caused Class 2 to rebound. Even if Yi Qing Qian wanted to suppress the current situation, the seeds of suspicion had already sprouted in both parties' hearts and there was no way to maintain the peace on the surface. Yi Qing Luo shot a glance at the three people beside her as the arc of her eyes became even more enchanting. Yi Qing Qian had been paying attention to Yi Qing Luo's actions, and on seeing the few of them exchanging glances, her heart suddenly turned cold. Trying to escape from under her nose. Don't even think about it. Yi Qing Qian's figure turned illusory as she waved her long whip, like a snake sticking out its scarlet tongue, as it coiled towards the direction of Qiao Jin and the others. A dagger suddenly coiled around that long whip. The long whip quivered as it became taut and straight. On the other end of the long whip, a dagger was coiled around. The one holding the dagger was Yi Qing Luo. Her fingers gripped the dagger tightly as she controlled Yi Qing Qian's long whip. Both parties were in a deadlock. The aura of an earth-profound realm expert constantly appeared on the whip's body. Wave after wave, through the long whip, through the dagger, striking onto Yi Qing Luo's palm which was holding onto the dagger. That strong profound qi had already corroded Yi Qing Luo's internal organs at an extremely fast speed. Yi Qing Qian apparently didn't expect that there was someone who wasn't afraid of death, attempting to withstand her earth-profound realm's qi, to be in a deadlock with her. Qiao Jin's pupils dilated slightly. He naturally understood that Yi Qing Luo had already used her own strength to go against an earth-profound realm, which was a huge risk. If she was slightly careless, there was a possibility of being swallowed by the earth-profound realm's qi. If it was him, he would absolutely not be as decisive as Yi Qing Luo. Qiao Jin's eyes were filled with determination as he clenched his fists. "Wait for me." After saying these two words, the gold coin darts in his hand flew out like a fairy scattering flowers. While the students were dodging the coin darts, his figure became illusory and he broke through the students' encirclement. "Be careful. Don't let him bring away the injured intruder." Yi Qing Qian cried out in alarm, attempting to remind the high-profound class students. However, the students of the two classes were now suspicious of each other. He was afraid that when he went to stop the trespasser, the other students would seize the opportunity and snatch his wooden token. Yi Qing Qian was exasperated as she tried to retract her whip. But the other end of the long whip was held tightly by Yi Qing Luo. Her eyes were covered with a layer of ruthlessness. Her slender fingers suddenly spread open, and a ball of earth-profound light enveloped her entire palm. Yi Qing Qian brushed her palm against the long whip, completely releasing the prestige of an earth-profound cultivator. For a moment, the entire training forest was engulfed by strong winds and huge waves. Thick and sturdy trees with luxuriant branches and leaves were rustled by the strong winds. The shadows of the trees danced in the wind as the bright moon in the sky shone through the gap which was opened up, scattering fragmented splendor. The ground started to tremble slightly. The surroundings beneath Yi Qing Qian's feet started to crack. All the students who were staring vigilantly at the people around them, started to shift their gazes onto Yi Qing Qian. Chapter 340. Yi Qing Luo's eyes sunk as an oppressive feeling gushed up her chest as she felt a fishy sweetness in her throat. She forcefully suppressed that oppressive feeling as the dagger in her hand curled around the long whip once more. Following that, she revolved her profound qi to protect her heart. An earth-profound practitioner's power is too strong. Student, you won't be able to hold on for too long. Let's end the battle quickly. Qiao Jin saw Yi Qing Luo's pair of charming eyes as it was masked with a ball of thick black color. His heart tightened as he speedily rushed towards that cat-beast young lady. Just as he was about to stretch out his hand to grab her, a long sword blocked in front of him. Qiao Jin speedily shot out a gold coin dart as it spun a few rounds and struck heavily on the long sword. Shengwan Fang Yi's arm felt numb as his brows creased tightly as he looked at Qiao Jin. "You're in the way." Qiao Jin's brows revealed a sliver of impatience as he wasn't willing to waste time on Shengwan Fang Yi. Yan Zhenfei, who was still recuperating by the side, gripped her twin blades tightly as she tried to block Qiao Jin's path. But a ghostly voice rang beside her ear, "Your opponent is me." Before she could get up, she was pressed against by a slender figure. The sharp dagger was pressed against Yan Zhenfei's fair neck. This voice made Yan Zhenfei's pupils constrict as an inconceivable expression flashed past her eyes. She speedily reacted as her petite body swiftly retreated a few steps as she turned her head to look at the lady who stuck close to her. When she met Yan Xiaoyi's pair of spirited but chilly eyes, she seemed to have sunk into a trance as the twin blades in her hands dropped onto the ground. The two people guarding the cat-beast young lady were subdued. Tong Ziqing speedily waved her long whip as it rolled up the young lady lying on the ground and pulled her into her arms. Following that, the three of them stopped at the same time as they speedily returned to Yiqing Luo's side. Yiqing Qian's expression was gloomy as she had not expected Yiqing Luo to remain unmoved after she released her earth-profound stage qi. Instead, she restrained her even more. On seeing that young lady being brought away, she cursed in disappointment, "A bunch of trash." Her long whip shook as her profound qi turned into waves as it charged towards Yiqing Luo. But she had not expected Yiqing Luo to suddenly let go of her long whip when she was shaking it. "Retreat." Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, suppressing the sweet fishy feeling in her throat as she opened up her arms, pressing the few people behind her to retreat rapidly. The few of them had just moved when the wave of qi exploded with a loud bang. The place where Yiqing Luo was standing earlier had already turned into a huge black hole. "Shi Jue." Yiqing Luo shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady in Tong Ziqing's arms and immediately called out. Shi Ju was currently trapped by Yunxiang, unable to cross Yunxiang to help its master. Its eyes were already scarlet red, losing its patience. Upon hearing Yiqing Luo's call, the scarlet red beast's eyes blinked as it gave off a low growl. The huge body that was trapped swayed, and its huge back was already arched in an attacking posture. Although Yunxiang was summoned here later, he understood the current situation. Those people's goal was to save the injured intruders. If this magical beast met up with the intruders would definitely escape. He waved his palms, and an earth-shattering palm wind pressed down. He absolutely could not allow this mirage beast to leave. The raging wind swept past the trees, and that fragmented moonlight swayed, coupled with Shi Ju's piercing howl. It seemed extremely strange. Shi Ju's leopard claws slammed onto the ground as its huge body swiftly leapt up. It didn't hide, but instead it met Yunxiang's palm qi, charging upwards. Chapter 341. That palm qi brought along the momentum of swallowing the mountains and rivers. But the minute it came into contact with Shi Ju's teeth, that palm qi which had swept up the fallen leaves and caused the surrounding wind to burst out, stopped abruptly. Shi Ju's teeth were like a sharp blade. When it opened its mouth, it could bite off all life. Yunxiang had not expected this low-leveled mirage beast to have such an ability. After it broke through his condensed palm wind, that huge leopard's head was just inches away. Yunxiang's expression changed greatly as a panic which he had never felt before started to spread from the bottom of his heart. That pair of scarlet-red beast eyes shone with a coquettish brilliance, revealing an impatient murderous intent. Not waiting for Yunxiang to react, that huge leopard's claw stepped on his chest. His internal organs seemed to be squeezed by a heavy object. He fell heavily onto the ground as his white long robe was swiftly covered by the scattered leaves and dust. Shi Ju stepped on Yunxiang's chest and speedily rushed towards Yiqing Luo, giving off a sharp low roar. "Well done." Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose under the veil as it floated gently onto Shi Ju's head. Her vision turned towards the back. "Go up." It was the first time for the three of them to see a mirage beast at such a close distance. Even though they knew that this was Yiqing Luo's contracted war pet, but when they saw that leopard's head which was bigger than their entire bodies, staring at them with a pair of scarlet red eyes, their calves couldn't help but turn into jelly. Mirage Beast Grade War Pet. That was equivalent to an Earth-profound realm cultivator's strength. Yiqing Luo was actually able to contract such a powerful war pet. Quick! Make the best use of the time. Yiqing Luo caressed Shiju's head. Shiju bent its four limbs as it lowered its body, allowing the few of them to climb up. Xiao Jin understood that this wasn't the time to be shocked by the Mirage Beast as he took the young lady from Tong Ziqing's arms and flipped over onto Shiju's back. Yan Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing exchanged glances as they swiftly climbed onto Shiju's back. Trying to leave. How could Yiqing Qian let them leave so easily? The long whip waved over once again as her figure speedily chased up to them. Yiqing Luo had yet to leap onto Shiju's back when Yiqing Qian was already nearing. The long whip swept out in an arc, setting off a strong imposing manner, heading towards Yiqing Luo's face. Coincidentally, Yan Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing had sat down properly and Yiqing Luo forcefully endured the discomfort in her body as her palm struck the ground fiercely and her figure swiftly soared into the sky, landing stably on Shiju's back. This action caused the veil on Yiqing Luo's face to be lifted. When the few of them sat down, Shiju's figure transformed into a bolt of lightning. In an instant, he had already disappeared into the lush forest, disappearing without a trace. The entrance area was in a mess, and many students did not even dare to breathe. The intruder left. With low-level magical beasts as mounts, there was no way they wouldn't be able to catch up to the magical beasts. As for Elder Yunxiang, he was severely injured by the illusionary beast and did not even have the strength to get up. The powerful qi that swept through the entire entrance gradually stopped. The fallen leaves slowly floated to the ground. And Yiqing Jian, who was originally waving her long whip to chase after him, stood stiffly on the spot. He even forgot to retract his whip. That beautiful face was filled with disbelief. She stared blankly at the direction where Shiju disappeared, as her heart thumped hard and trembled violently. Just now. The moment the veil was lifted, the outline that was vaguely revealed, that slender and fair jaw, rosy pink lips. Especially that pair of soul-stealing eyes. Yiqing Qian's heart seemed to be choked by something, even her breathing became heavy. That red-robed lady, was she Yiqing Luo? How could it be possible? How could she have the ability to enter the heavenly training forest? How could she have the ability? Recalling that low-level Mirage Beast, recalling the scene when Yiqing Luo sat on the high-level Mirage Beast's back, her expression instantly turned pale. Chapter 342. Shiju's speed was extremely fast and in a blink of an eye, it had already brought the few of them out of the secret tunnel. Before they walked out of the secret tunnel, Yiqing Luo called out to Shiju. They had already left the training forest. Shiju's size and its Mirage Beast's aura would easily attract the attention of the other experts in the academy. They had to be careful. After Yiqing Luo and the others got down from Shiju's back, Shiju turned into a palm-sized pet. Yan Xiaoyi stared curiously at that palm-sized Shiju. She couldn't imagine that this was the low-leveled Mirage Beast which had the size of a thick tree. The current Shiju which had shrunk looked like a cat and a dog. Its cuteness was evident. Let's hurry back to the devil class, change our clothes and deal with it. Yiqing Luo scanned the surroundings vigilantly. Walking out of the training forest, this was the academy's turf. If the hidden experts in the academy were to find out about their devil class's matter, what happened in the training forest today would definitely implicate the devil class. Your wound must be treated in time. Let's get Lulu to take a look at it when we return to the devil class. Yan Xiaoyi looked at the wound on Yiqing Luo's arm which had already congealed into a blood scab as her slender brows creased into a bundle. Yiqing Luo's profound grade wasn't high, but she was on par with an Earth profound realm cultivator. On the surface, she looked fine, but internally, she had suffered a serious internal injury. Qiao Jin single-handedly carried that cat-beast young lady in his arms. Let's go. Devil class, Bei Ming Lu's pharmacy. Yiqing Luo laid on the bed and her arm had been bandaged. Her face was pale without any color of blood. One look and one knew that her injury wasn't light. Bei Ming Lu sat by the bedside and the silver needles in her hands accurately pierced into Yiqing Luo's various acupoints. Her medical skills were brilliant and she was confident that she could restore Yiqing Luo's body back to its original state. But it would take some time. Yiqing Luo's internal organs were all attacked by Yiqing Qian's profound qi. She didn't feel any pain when she contended with Yiqing Qian in the training forest, but the moment she laid down and moved slightly, she felt a heart-wrenching pain. Looking at Yiqing Luo, who was in so much pain that her forehead was drenched in cold sweat, Bei Ming Lu sighed softly. I really don't know what kind of physique you have. Your profound grade isn't high to compete with an Earth profound grade cultivator's profound qi. Your internal organs are almost shattered. It was strange. Bei Ming Lu had never seen anyone with Yiqing Luo's physique. If it was an ordinary person, even if it was a profound practitioner of the profound realm, forcibly receiving the profound energy released by a profound practitioner of the Earth profound realm would result in their internal organs being shattered and becoming a cripple. In the worst-case scenario, they would be devoured by the profound practitioner of the Earth profound realm and disappear from this world. However, Yiqing Luo only suffered an internal injury. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were intact. It was as if something was protecting her internal organs. Yiqing Luo's breathing was slightly unstable as Bei Ming Lu kept pricking her body with needles one after another, causing her body to tremble in pain. Student Yi, you're too reckless. Looking at Yiqing Luo biting her lower lip tightly, sweating profusely in pain but trying her best to suppress the pain, Qiao Jin's tightly knitted brows creased into a bundle. He was at this scene and saw everything clearly. Recalling the scene of Yiqing Luo using the dagger to restrain Yiqing Qian and competing with profound qi, a chill ran down her spine. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as she shook her head. I'm fine. Sure enough, he needed to improve his strength as soon as possible. She needed to find her own profound jade heart as soon as possible. Otherwise, based on her current strength, if she met someone with a higher profound grade, she would be helpless. If it wasn't for the fact that the Azure Dew bracelet had activated its protection mode in time and used the enchantment to protect her internal organs, her injuries would definitely not be just this. Chapter 343. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she revealed a faint smile. She could tell that these people were genuinely concerned about her. I'm really fine. If it wasn't for your help today, I wouldn't be able to bring this lass away so smoothly. Yiqing Luo's brows were tinged with smiles. We're a team and today's coordination was extremely good. Qiao Jin and the others saw her smiling so peacefully as an indescribable gloominess gushed out from their hearts. Student Yi, I hope that in future when you're facing danger, you'll think of us behind you. Tong Ziqing, who was leaning against the door with her arms crossed in front of her chest, putting on a sour face, her icy cold gaze swept past Yiqing Luo. We don't have that kind of leisure to be able to rush to your side in time every single time. Seeing Tong Ziqing's obviously concerned but awkward look, Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Yes, I won't do it in future. Her charming eyes curved into crescents as she smiled, like a bright crescent moon, radiating brilliance. The others looked at her smile and that indescribable gloominess in their hearts slowly dissipated. Not knowing when it started, Yiqing Luo seemed to have become the core in their eyes. Yiqing Luo had obviously joined Devil class for merely half a month, but her position in their hearts was the same as Long Yunzhan. Perhaps it was because when Yiqing Luo first entered Devil class, that confident and resolute gaze, using her own ability to speak boldly, had awed them. Or perhaps it was because every single time Yiqing Luo was able to use her words and her views to convince them. Or perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo obviously looked cold and indifferent, not someone who liked to meddle in other people's business, but towards all the students in the class, she had never been stingy with her help. Especially today, she faced 20 over high profound class students alone, not panicking in the face of danger. Even after they appeared, in order to ensure their safety, she went against Yiqing Qian's actions alone. Their hearts were completely shaken. They asked themselves honestly, if it was them, would they really be able to be so resolute? That's right, where's that young lady? The minute she reached Devil class, she was forcefully brought to Bei Ming Lu by Qiao Jin, and that young lady was sent somewhere else. The room next door. Tong Ziqing frowned and a trace of impatience flashed across her eyes. I didn't expect student Yi to be so kind. For a girl whom you don't even know, you actually wanted to rescue her from the hands of more than 10 high profound class students. Do you really think that you're a god? Tong Ziqing really couldn't understand why this seemingly cold woman would save someone completely unrelated to her time and time again. Previously, he had helped Denai Rupin, and now, he had saved that strange young girl. Furthermore, both of them were extremely troublesome. Could such a kind person really stand firm in this world in the future? She's not an ordinary person. Yiqing Luo had no intention to tell them in detail about the matters regarding the Beastmen clan. Old Man Song had said that the Beastmen race had already been extinct in the entire Nirvana realm. Even if he said it out loud, these people might not understand and it might even cause panic. She chose an explanation that everyone could accept. Look at the ears on her head and that black tail. She's not a normal human. Qiao Jin and the others already had doubts in their hearts. This was the first time they had seen a person with a pair of cat ears and a cat tail. This was the reason why Yiqing Luo chose to save that young lady. Chapter 344. Qiao Jin and the rest didn't say anything else. Bei Ming Lu had already finished her acupuncture and heaved a sigh of relief. Rest for a few days. In less than 5 days, I guarantee you will be back to your previous state. 5 days. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she shook her head slowly. No way, I must go for the freshman training. If I don't go, I'm afraid our actions today will be exposed. In the training forest, when she leapt onto Shi Ju's back, she seemed to have seen Yiqing Qian's astonished face. Yiqing Luo wasn't sure if Yiqing Qian had recognized her. If she didn't attend the freshman training at this time and stayed in Devil class, based on Yiqing Qian's character, she would definitely be suspicious. If Yiqing Qian knew that she was the one who saved the young lady in the training forest, she would then trace it back to Devil class. The current Devil class wasn't strong enough to contend against the entire academy. Long Yunzhan must have the same thoughts as her. If the academy knew about Devil class's students' aptitude and forcefully allocated them to the intermediate or low profound classes, and they didn't have the ability to make these students stay, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Before they could confirm, they couldn't take the risk. Just based on your current state, you still want to attend the freshman training? Bei Ming Lu put down the bottles in her hands as she rolled her eyes at Yiqing Luo. Don't spoil my reputation as the #1 divine doctor. I'm afraid tomorrow Yiqing Qian will come to the freshman training ground to confirm. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. She also understood that with her current physical condition, it was impossible for her to complete the freshman training. But if she didn't go, Yiqing Qian would place the suspicion on her. She couldn't risk the entire Devil class. At most we'll let Master Guiyu apply for leave from the instructors. Just say that Master Guiyu is training us trash and wants you to be a training example. Yan Xiaoyi clapped her hands fiercely. Right, let's do it this way. This will only make Yiqing Qian more suspicious. Yiqing Luo shook her head as she lowered her head to look at the acupuncture point on her chest and gently breathed out. is there any way to cover up the whip wound on my arm? Xiao Jin's expression changed. Who cares if she has suspicions, we'll deal with it when the situation calls for it. Earlier you said you won't joke with your life, aren't you playing with your life? I know what I'm doing. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. Lulu should have a way to make me get off the bed tomorrow. Baiming Lulu slightly raised her eyebrows. She was extremely confident in her medical skills, of course, but it's only limited to getting out of bed. Chapter 345. Based on Yiqing Qian's character, if she had any suspicions today, she would definitely not be able to sleep at night. Tomorrow morning, she would be waiting at the training grounds to test if I'm injured. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as a cold arc flashed past. If I were to go to the training ground safely and let her see it with her own eyes, it would dispel her suspicions. Then, just like what Xiao Yi said earlier, before the training starts, let teacher Gue Yu bring me away in front of her and everything will fall into place naturally. Yiqing Qian's character was to only believe what she saw with her own eyes. As long as she could prove that she was not injured and safe in front of Yiqing Qian. No matter how much suspicions Yiqing Qian had, she would not be so sure. And Gue Yu's character had always been to do as he pleased, even if it was in front of the instructors. Forcefully bringing her away was a very normal thing. The few of them looked at each other. Yiqing Luo's method was not impossible. But did Baiming Lulu really have a way to let Yiqing Luo act like a normal person tomorrow? Qing, Madam Qing Luo. A weak voice was heard from the door as Ni Ruo Pan stood at the door. If Yiqing Qian doesn't believe me, what should we do? Yiqing Luo spread out her hands and shrugged. If she doesn't believe me and wants to test me, I will give a signal for teacher Gue Yu to bring me away in advance. Yiqing Qian doesn't have the guts to go against teacher Gue Yu. She had already thought of an escape route. Let's follow student Ye's method. A figure dressed in a blue robe walked in slowly from behind Ni Ruo Pan. Class monitor. The few of them stood up and greeted Long Yunzhan. Long Yunzhan nodded his head as his calm gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo. After some time, he flipped his palm and a jade bottle appeared in his palm. This is the actual combat training's reward. Congratulations, first place. Although Long Yunzhan was congratulating her, but his tone didn't have any undulations. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned as she looked at the jade bottle which Long Yunzhan passed over. First place. My points have not changed since the beginning, how could I possibly be first place? She spent the entire day with Ni Ruo Pan and the magical beast points were all used to give Ni Ruo Pan actual combat experience. Her wooden token had always been 30 points. After that, he barged into the high profound zone and met the students from the high profound class. How could he get first place? You have 106 points in total. Long Yunzhan's vision swept past Tong Ziqing who was leaning against the door with a sour face, and immediately returned to Yiqing Luo. This is your reward, 106 points. Oh my god! So many. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes suddenly flashed, as though she understood something, as she looked straight at Tong Ziqing. You've given all your points to me? Tong Ziqing snorted coldly. 30 points are the initial points. Under your guidance, Ni Rupin has gained 14 points. Take the remaining points as a gift from me. With that, she turned around with a proud look on her face and left the pharmacy. How willful. What happened to the strong desire to win? Was it really a good idea to give her the first place just like that? Madam Qing Luo, actually vice class monitor and the rest will rush over to the high profound zone to look for you. It's all thanks to Sister Ziqing, she's actually very concerned about you. Ni Ruo Pan looked at Tong Ziqing's departing figure, worried that Yiqing Luo would get angry, so she hurriedly explained for Tong Ziqing. She originally didn't like Tong Ziqing's character. She only felt that Tong Ziqing was too overbearing, using her power to bully others. Usually the one who led the bullying was Tong Ziqing. Chapter 346. Ni Rupan could no longer hate Tong Ziqing for what she did. From Ni Ruopan's mouth, Yiqing Luo then found out that Xiao Jin and the others were able to rush over to the high profound class in such a timely manner and specially prepared their red robes and masks, was all thanks to Tong Ziqing. From the moment they entered the heavenly training forest, Tong Ziqing went straight in, looking for magical beasts to accumulate points. It was Ni Rupan's first time in the training forest, so her physique was far from Tong Ziqing's. She could not keep up with Tong Ziqing's pace. He was thoroughly humiliated by Tong Ziqing. Tong Ziqing directly pushed the battered Ni Rupan to the side when they were killing the demonic beasts. She then scolded the wretched Ni Rupan for not being a hindrance since she was a good-for-nothing. Ni Ruopan's pride was insulted as he left Tong Ziqing and walked back to the entrance to wait for Yiqing Luo. Following that, under Yiqing Luo's guidance, they killed magical beasts one after another. While Tong Ziqing was accumulating points, she suddenly discovered that the points on the wooden tablet had mysteriously increased. She felt that it was strange, thinking that there was something wrong with the wooden tablet. To prevent the class leader from accusing her of cheating, Tong Ziqing specifically found Xiao Jin and explained the situation. Xiao Jin guessed that Ni Rupan killed the demonic beasts to accumulate points for her team. Tong Ziqing could not believe that Ni Rupan, who was so useless that she would gasp for breath after running a few steps, could actually kill a demonic beast. His points were still increasing at an average rate. How could this be? Hence, Tong Ziqing, Yan Xiaoyi and the others followed the location indicated by the wooden token and found Ni Ruopan, who was hugging Yiqing Luo's uniform and sprinting with all his might. After knowing that Yiqing Luo had a conflict with the high profound class students, Tong Ziqing immediately rushed over to the high profound zone. I know. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but chuckled after she heard the entire sequence of events. Her existence made Tong Ziqing feel threatened. Since Tong Ziqing had feelings for Long Yunzhan, it was only natural that she would target him previously. She knew that Tong Ziqing had wholeheartedly agreed with what she said in the class committee room. It was just that she was unable to lower her pride to ask for peace with Yiqing Luo. Such a proud and awkward little girl was quite cute. Also, Ni Rupan glanced at Yan Xiaoyi from the corner of her eye. Then she lowered her voice and said, I'm afraid classmate Yan has been recognized too. What do you mean? Ni Ruopan licked her dry lips. High profound classes Yan Zhenfei is student Yan's elder sister from the same father and mother. Yan Zhenfei's innate talent has been strong since young and was admitted into Heavenly Academy at a young age. In just 1 year, she passed the semi-annual class promotion test and entered High Profound Class 2. Hearing this, Yiqing Luo roughly understood what Ni Ruopan was trying to express. These students in Devil class were all trash in the past and Yan Xiaoyi was no exception. Her talent was not as good as her sister's, and she had been living under her sister's brilliance since she was young. Everyone could only see Yan Zhenfei but not Yan Xiaoyi. Hearing Ni Ruopan's concise and comprehensive description of Yan Xiaoyi and Yan Zhenfei's relationship, Yiqing Luo recalled that she and Yiqing Qian were once like this. However, her unexpected arrival had changed the fate of this body. But Yan Xiaoyi was different. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she stared at Yan Xiaoyi with interest. She didn't believe that Yan Xiaoyi would obediently live outside of Yan Zhenfei's halo. Based on Yan Xiaoyi's character, she would absolutely not allow herself to be at a disadvantage. Behind this halo, it was hard to say who was in charge. She suddenly recalled that day, the conversation between him and Chi-Chi, and her heart suddenly trembled. There were so many people in the pharmacy. Yiqing Luo resisted the urge to ask him about Chi-Chi's whereabouts and his relationship with Chi-Chi, nodded her head and responded yes. Today's actual combat training, you were almost discovered by the high profound class and caused such a huge commotion. It's your fault. After you recover from your injuries, you will be responsible for the cleanliness of the devil class for 7 days as a warning to others. Class monitor. Qiao Jin opened his mouth, trying to plead for Yiqing Luo. Long Yunzhan casually glanced at Qiao Jin. His expressionless face and eyes were as calm as water, adding a bit of indifference to his whole person. Qiao Jin immediately fell silent. This is indeed my fault. I am willing to accept the punishment. When she did the action of going out to save that young lady, Yiqing Luo had already guessed that this action of hers had already violated the devil class's rules. Long Yunzhan's punishment wasn't considered heavy, and it was only on the surface, to warn the other students. Long Yunzhan didn't say a word, as he remained silent as when he came, as he calmly turned around and left the pharmacy. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as she stared at Long Yunzhan's back view. He wasn't going to tell her where Chi-Chi was. But she didn't expect that Lu Shuiyu would still be in contact with Yiqing Qian after the violation of the academy's rules, and even came to test her on behalf of Yiqing Qian. Yiqing Luo chuckled lightly as she glanced sideways and sneered, "If the former vice president has the time to pay attention to me, why don't you think about how to get back your position? If you lose the faculty council member status, you won't be able to see your dear president anymore." Yiqing Luo chuckled. With just a few words, he poked at the sore spot in Lu Shuiyu's heart. You. Lu Shuiyu slammed the table and stood up, her cold and elegant face immediately showed anger. However, Yiqing Luo didn't bother about her as she opened the door and walked into the room. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.